Hello everyone, welcome to another video from Fantasy Football Scouts covering Euro 2020 Fantasy Football. Fantasy Football Scout are partnered with UEFA, which is very exciting, and we're also partnered with Just Eat, which is also very exciting because there are lots of vouchers for takeaways to give away. So make sure you use the hashtags whenever you're on Twitter. They're on your screen, hashtag Euro 2020 and hashtag Euro Fantasy. And if you do anything cool or outrageous, you captain a random player and he gets a hat-trick, Just Eat will probably chuck some vouchers at you. So make sure you do that. And also make sure you get your takeaway booked in ready for Friday night, which I'm going to be doing. I'm joined by my good friend. It's FPL Mode. It's Andy North, our newest pro pundit. How are you, Andy?
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to that Just Eat vouchers you're going to be sending me, mate.
Yeah, you've got to do well to get those, mate. Sorry.
There's always a trick, isn't there?
That's how they get you. They get you. No, do you know what? I'm looking at your team. Your team's on the screen. Your first draft. Obviously, we're doing these first draft videos this week. Don't know how much is going to change before the start, but I'm looking at it and I'm thinking it's pretty solid. You fairly settled? You happy? Or just one of about 100?
Can I say no? do you know what? There are certain players in there that are 100% going to be in there by deadline. And I'll talk about which ones they are. And there's other players where I could make some quite wholesale changes to about 5 or 6 of these. And I'll talk about that tonight as well, the ones that aren't quite nailed. And I just feel like there's some players there that don't get me too excited yet. And I feel like I really, especially before the tournament starts, I should really be getting excited. Now, obviously, I'm going to be playing unlimited in match day 2, so I'm really only looking at it for 1 week. And to not be overly excited about it yet for what is potentially a free hit, I think there's probably a little bit of work I need to do. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I'm thinking it looks pretty solid, but there isn't. I agree. There isn't really anyone there that gets me going. I've got a few things. So we'll go through the team sort of one by one. As we go. In fact, let's just do that now. Let's just go straight into it. Let's not keep the suspense going. So, goal. You've gone ultra cheap in goal. You've gone for the Austrian goalkeeper, and you've gone for the Ukrainian goalkeeper. No, not Ukrainian. The Finnish goalkeeper. Sorry, at 4.0. Pretty popular combination. Want to shed any more light on that?
Well, it's just so cheap.
Yeah.
Especially on a free hit as well. It's brilliant because, Barkman's 100% nailed and I fancy him to keep a clean sheet against North Macedonia anyway. So straight away, I'm looking at that and thinking, yeah, absolutely brilliant. Love the fact he is 100% nailed. Do you know what? I was looking at it as well. There are hardly any players that I 100% know will play. And he is somebody I know that, the Austrian managers come out and said, he is our goalkeeper for the tournament. So,
God, you talk about not getting excited about players. I've never seen someone get so excited about the Austrian goalkeeper. You love him, don't you?
True. Yeah, you wait till I get to the strikers, mate. And yeah, so absolutely brilliant there. I thought this Austria team I do like for that first week anyway. Hence why I've got quite a few in my team. And then Hiradeki, I'm hoping not to have to use him anyway. But if I do have to use him, he is there and he could maybe get some save points against Denmark, who I do fancy. So yeah, I think Bachmann for me, I for his price, I think anybody that doesn't have him is either going premium or they just haven't realised he's nailed yet.
So yeah, kind of. I've got Bachmann in my team, but I've also gone a little bit more expensive. I've gone for the Turkish goalkeeper as well, Kakir, alongside him, just because I'm looking at that match day 3 game, and Austria have got Austria have got the Ukraine, and Finland have got Belgium. So I don't know, the tough games. I fancy Denmark to beat Austria fairly comfortably, I'd say. I think Denmark are a strong side. And at least with Turkey, I get the Switzerland game, and I think by then Switzerland are probably going to be knackered. They've travelled the most of all the teams, and I fancy Turkey to do to keep it tight. I just don't really want to play them against Italy so much. So I'm spending a little bit more, but I feel like I'm getting a better game week 3 fixture. What are your thoughts?
It's interesting that you said that about the travelling time. I spoke about that on one of my videos the other day. Are you paying much credence to that then?
Well, not an over amount, but it's a slight factor, isn't it? It's just I don't really fancy Switzerland that much anyway to do particularly well in the tournament, and it's just another thing of a load of long travel times. It's not ideal preparation. I mean, compared to half the squad's getting COVID and quarantining for 10 days, I guess it's not that big a deal, but it's just one thing that just makes you think it's not going to help. their preparations, is it? Having to travel all around.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I spoke about it the other day and just said I'm not paying it any attention personally. I'm not going to not pick somebody who I think could do well because they've travelled further. Don't get me wrong. I feel like the difference between travel time between the lowest teams and the biggest teams is ridiculous. Like some of them are 5,000 miles more, aren't they? But I don't think I'd be picking my team based on it.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I just to be honest, I'm looking at the game week 3. I've got to stop calling them game weeks. They're match days. Match days. Come on, Az. You've been doing enough of these videos now. I'm just looking at the match day 3 fixtures, and I'm looking at teams around, with a 4.5 goalkeeper, and there isn't really that many standout picks that I could find. And to me, the standout pick is that Turkey-Switzerland game. Because I think Turkey are going to get through the group. I think they'll probably lose to Italy. I think they'll beat Wales. And I think they'll beat Switzerland, to be fair. Or at least keep it tight and get a draw in that final game. Yeah. So this is the kind of game where I hate rotating keepers in FPL. But at least with this, you only have to rotate if your first one doesn't get anything.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. And it's just, for me, it's just the value options. I'm not expecting that much from goalkeepers anyway. He could most probably keep a clean sheet, maybe 2 in the group stages. So I quite like Barkman as an option. And Hiradeki is just there because he's cheap. I'm not expecting him to get any clean sheets for me.
Right, let's stop talking about your golden boy, Backman. Yeah. Let's move on to defence. So you've gone for a Spinazzola captain, which is quite, it's quite exciting. Going for a defender captain in the first week, why not? You've got Bonucci in there, maybe a bit less exciting, but a decent price. So you've gone for, 2 5.5 options. And then you've gone for an Austrian defender, a Danish defender, and then the mighty Pau Torres, who I think pretty much everyone's got. So you haven't got Denea, which is, you're one of the first teams I've seen that hasn't got Denea. What's your fear? Why haven't you gone for him, basically? Because he seems like such a steal at 4.5, and talk me through the kind of logic of your backline.
He's been in and out, if I'm honest. If I get to him in a minute, I really wanted that double Italy defence, and I was looking at... I can feel
the stress, by the way, of you talking through this team. All the constant, I don't know. That's FP. That's what it does to you, isn't it?
This is what I mean, though. Like, I just wish it could lock in now. Like, I'm not even that happy with it. Like, I see Soundcheck on my bench and just think, oh God,
what are you doing there, mate? I know.
Yeah, no, I know. But anyway, so Spinazzola and Bonucci, I like that. And to be honest, I really like the idea of captaining one of them to have that triple defence. And I think that could be really good against Turkey. Don't get me wrong, it could completely fall flat on its face. But if it does, then I can easily move off of, 4 at the back and go to 3 at the back. And then all of a sudden, I don't actually have that defence in there. So I think that's a gamble worth taking. I also think it's a gamble worth taking because yes, they won 4-0 the other day. I still think they're going to be a defence-heavy team. I really do think they are. I think they're going to be making sure they win the game by keeping a clean sheet more than anything else. So I think going with that defence is a good option. I think Italy are going to be very, very heavily favoured in defence, I think. So a lot of people are going to be having at least one Italian defender in their team. So if you've got one defender in your team, you're probably not getting a lot from it. So I do like the idea of captaining one of them and having another one. I think Spinazzola, I was definitely looking at captaining more than Bonucci because he does get forward. He almost plays like a left wing back / left winger at times. So I'm more than happy with that. And then I did have Donnarumma in my team for quite a while. And I looked at it and just thought, what am I really expecting from Donnarumma? If I'm thinking that this Italian team are going to do quite well in this group, is he really going to be getting that many save points for me? I don't think he is. So I think I like the upside of Spinazzola and Bonucci a little bit more.
Yeah. So a question for you then. So what would you need from Spinazzola to keep the captaincy on him? So say you got a clean sheet, he gets 6 points. Is that enough?
We've spoken about this already, haven't we? I said it on the stream when we first did our stream, and I said that I'd be really boring, and if I got a clean sheet, I'd probably keep it on him.
I know you did. Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Have you changed your mind?
Yeah, I know. That's why you're asking you. And I'm looking at it now, and I'm just thinking, I really want to be able to play it safe. I feel like that's the sensible option. You get 6 points from your captain, that becomes 12, and there's going to be a lot of people gambling that end up getting 2 points, and it's just. For me, my head is telling me you should stick with that captain. You've got a return from your captain. But then the other side of me is thinking, well, you've only got 6-7 weeks to be able to try and get those big captaincy hauls. It's not like the Premier, FPL where you've got 38 weeks and a low captaincy return is okay. I feel like you do probably need to chase those big returns a little bit more. So I think I'll deal with it when I get there. But I think even if he gets to clean sheet, I'll probably be putting it on. But
I'll deal with it when I get there is such a non-committal answer, isn't it? Honestly, when I've had a few beers and I can say, yeah. I mean, look, I was talking to Luke earlier, and he said something. He said that if Lukaku, for example, got a goal and an assist, he would still change the captain to Ronaldo for that final week. Yeah.
See, I don't think I would there.
See, that's the kind of like FPL manager type he is. Like he always chases those massive hauls. And this kind of game, I'm not sure if it really suits that kind of play, because I do think a lot of people are going to be chucking away sort of guaranteed points to always be chasing that kind of big return. And I think particularly down in the later stages when those points are harder to get, people chucking away, captain clean sheets or whatever for defenders and searching for goals and not really getting them. I think it could some people might come unstuck, but in the group stages, maybe it's better to be a bit bolder.
Yeah, I'm kind of edging towards that, and I'm also thinking in my head, why are you owning Lukaku, Depay, and Ronaldo if you're not thinking they're going to get you more than 6 points? Because I mean, you're owning them because you think they're going to be getting you double-digit returns, braces, things like that. So if I'm going to be having Spinazzola as my captain and then not moving it off him just because he gets me 6 points, why have I got Lukaku, Depay, and Ronaldo?
Yeah.
Because I'm obviously thinking they're not going to beat that. So I can really see both ways. I'm wondering whether 6 points is just a bit too low. Like maybe if Spinazzola got me 9 points, what would I do then? I think that's maybe a better argument, because I think I'd probably stick with 9 points, which sounds weird, but I think I probably would, because Lukaku, Depay, or Ronaldo all have to potentially get a brace just to beat him, just to beat him by a point. So I think 9 points I'd probably stick with, but I think 6 points I would probably.
So I'm going for a 10 plus or minus 1 type approach. Yeah. So 9, I think around 10, I think is a pretty good score. You find that with FPL in general, if your captain gets double digits or around double digits, you're normally quite happy. It's a little bit harder to get to those numbers because there's no bonus points as well.
Exactly.
Particularly with defenders. I mean, this is the thing. Like, there's so many good price defenders at 4.5. The premium defenders have really got to be hitting attacking returns for it to be worth it, and I'm just not convinced that they're really going to. And there's so many good options at the back. So Austria and Denmark. I mean, I don't think we need to spend a lot of time talking about the defenders. I mean, they got arguably the two best fixtures in the whole tournament, maybe along with Poland against Slovakia. We'll move on from that. I mean, Karam had triple Danish defence, which kind of shows that. And we were talking before, and it's starting to creep in a little bit, isn't it? People are starting to go for those doubles and triple ups and things. And you often see that in this kind of format of this tournament, because people are really kind of target quick, immediate returns, and it can be great if it comes off, but you've spread the risk a little bit more, which I think is probably more sensible.
Yeah, I think as well. I think I would. I think I'd favour the triple Austria defence rather than triple Denmark. I think triple Denmark. I can see, that flashbacks of Pukki scoring 2 seasons ago, and I just got that kind of in my head. And I think I fancy North Macedonia to score less than Finland.
Do you? See, I don't. I think Denmark are a much better side than Austria. I'm not convinced on Austria. I mean, I've got Alioski in my team at the moment, and he's just, to me, he's just quite a fun pick. Like, he's someone who I can stick in my team. If he doesn't score a penalty and he concedes, I'll just sub him out and bring someone else in. If he does score a penalty,
when he's not getting you any points, mate.
Well, no, it won't be. But I've only got to play him for 2 weeks, and they're probably going to be knocked out. But I do agree with Karam though. I think Denmark are a good side. I think their players are going under the radar a little bit, and that brings us nicely onto Ericsson, because Ericsson is obviously really popular going to this. He's a lot cheaper in fan team. He's 7 mil in fan team. He's 9 million, I think, on the UEFA game. Yeah. But you're happy to pay that extra for him.
Oh yeah, 100%. Especially with the extra points we get for outside of the box shots as well. I really like him. I think I put a tweet out today saying, has anybody not got him? Because I can't see many better midfielders for his price.
I haven't got him
in this fixture. But you haven't got him.
I haven't got him. He's just a bit too much. I think there's good options around the 7 mil mark.
I see. Do you? I don't think there's any good options around the 7 million mark. Genuinely, I found it so hard to pick good players at 7 million, and I think for 9 million, I'm more than happy paying that extra 2 million for him. I think.
Well, I can name you three. I can name you three straight away.
Oh, you're going to say Insigne, Ferran Torres?
No, because they're not 7 million. You've got Malinovsky.
Oh, 7 million.
7 million. Yeah, Malinovsky of the Ukraine. I think he's.
Is he?
I rate him.
He's not on pens now either.
I've been doing a lot of research on him though. I fancy the Ukraine to do quite well, and he's a key, absolute key part of the side. All the attacks seem to flow through him. Zinchenko as well in defence. I think on the limitless in match day 2, Zinchenko is going to be really popular. I really like Forsberg, Sweden. Lynn's in the chat. She loves Forsberg. He's on all set pieces. He's on penalties. He's nailed on in a Swedish side, which is going to probably have a lot of rotation. They've got so many attackers, Sweden.
But all these players have really bad match day 1 fixtures.
Well, they have bad match week 1 fixtures, but they're the hub of everything that goes through their team. They're a bit like Ericsson, right? They're the kind of talisman type players that go through.
I don't know. I don't see the upside there really. I mean, like I said, I love them for match day 2, and I love them for match day 3 as well. You know, I've been looking at this with my fan team as well, and I'm putting them on my bench in that one because I really like the idea of bringing them on. But for match day 1, I'm not really seeing the upside. Like I've got Zielinski in my team there against Slovakia. I don't have Lewandowski up front, which I'm sure we'll get onto in a minute. But I like him in terms of I like the upside there. I like the fact that they're playing a poor team, whereas you know Forsberg and people like that. Yes, they might be the heartbeat of their team, but then so's Ericsson. He's got a nice fixture. So
but he's 9 million. He's a hell of a lot more money. Do
you know what though? A lot of people on Twitter, when I put it out today, were saying, "Oh, but club form's terrible. Club form's terrible." And it's like, yeah, but it doesn't matter that his club form's terrible. Like he is, like you just said, he's the heartbeat of the team for Denmark, and he's got a nice fixture against Finland. I don't know what else you could want really, but yes, he is 2 million more potentially, but I think he's worth that 2 million more, especially with how many shots he takes outside the box as well.
In no way am I saying him. I think Denmark are a good side. I think Ericsson's a class player. I think he's a
talisman.
I'm leaving now. Yeah, no, I really like him. I just think there are options that are cheaper, and he is entering into a premium bracket almost. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I'm looking at your team and I'm not seeing any kind of glaring weaknesses. So it's not like I'd say, you know, take the money out of Ericsson and put it into the rest of your team. You've got Zielinski there, who I think is a really good pick. You know, he's playing kind of further up the forward for Poland, linking up what we hope really nicely with Lewandowski. Yeah. Alaba's in pretty much every team that I'm seeing. I'm not.
He's just so cheap.
He's just so cheap, and he's just not a midfielder though.
Yeah,
this is the problem with him.
I think if he was a defender, he'd be in every single team, wouldn't he?
He would, and he is on fan team, like I mentioned. So he is on every team. But yeah, I mean the thing with Alaba is he's got the set pieces, and Luke was saying, you know, earlier, teams, lower ranked teams like North Macedonia, they often get targeted from set pieces. So I wouldn't be too surprised for him to pick up a couple of assists in that game. And then you got Berardi. Berardi's a bit of a gift, right? Because everyone was going Chiesa, 7 mil. You know, the friendlies have happened. Chiesa's been on the bench. Berardi scored in his last game, 1 million less. That gives you a bit of extra funds, doesn't it, to go for the likes of Ericsson when you might be struggling a bit if you didn't have Berardi. Yeah,
and yeah, I think it's one of those things where we're going to find out the Italian team before we have to lock in, which is quite nice. And I think if Berardi's starting, he's easy to stay in there. I was all over Chiesa when the game first came out because I absolutely loved him. I know I did Group A, didn't I, with you on the preview streams, and I said how much I love Chiesa and how much actually I was thinking about Chiesa as a better option than Insigne. And I think if money wasn't an option, I'd be going for Insigne because I just know he's going to play every game and he looks the better player in that team at the moment. But I think Berardi, it will just be based on how the fixtures come out, not the fixtures, when the lineup comes out, whether Berardi's playing. If he is, lovely. If he isn't, I've got a bit of surgery to do because I have to take him, kind of move him up a bit.
Do you have a plan? Do you know who you'd move him to if those lineups come out? Because my biggest worry is the Italy lineup comes out, Spinazzola's not in there, Berardi's not in there, and I've got to suddenly panic and make a load of transfers and I'll end up ruining my whole team.
I think defensively it's fine. I think I just take Spinazzola out and I go for a cheaper defender most probably. I would probably go to a cheaper defender, probably a Danish defender. I'd probably get Myler in. And then I would probably upgrade Berardi and downgrade Souček and get a better player in instead of Berardi. I mean, if Berardi's not playing, then Chiesa probably is. So I think Chiesa would probably be the way to move. But yeah, I know I've seen Swede in the chat mention Carrasco, but I'm not really a massive fan of Carrasco, if I'm honest. I know he normally plays wing back, but he could play if Hazard isn't back. But I still think that's a bit of a gamble personally. So I don't know. I just feel like there's a bit of a dearth of options at 7 million and less. So I think I'd probably go to Chiesa if he is the one starting still. But yeah, not great options there.
The good thing about Italy is they've got a good match in game week 1 on paper against Turkey. I think, like you said, I don't think they're going to score loads of goals, but it's ranking wise at least, it's a good looking game. And then they've got Wales in match day 3. So assuming people are going to play the Limitless, Luke made a good case of playing Limitless in match day. You can tell it's hot. You and I are both stumbling over our words. Like, tonight. Oh god, it's really warm in this room. The other teams I like with good fixtures in game week 1 and 3 are Belgium. So Belgium have got Russia, and then they've got Finland, which is why I am really surprised to see that you haven't got Denayer in your team, because he's just a lock for me. Like, he's playing for the team that conceded the least goals in qualifying. He's probably going to go on to the semi-finals at least. 4.5 net, pretty nailed on. I think you can overcomplicate it a little bit.
I've put him in once or twice. I think at one point I was wondering whether he was 100% nailed. And this Belgium team, it's so hard picking players. It really is. Like, De Bruyne was locked in my team as soon as it came out, and obviously he went. And so Lukaku was there, and I felt like I had to pick Lukaku anyway. Denayer could very well wake his mate. Oh my goodness. It's definitely hot. Very well make his way into my team by the end, but I just don't fancy him that much. I actually fancy, like I said, the upside of having those other 4.5 million defenders, and Torres is there as well. Like, I see so much value in these defenders, and I wish I could pick 6 or 7 of them rather than picking any more bloody midfielders. But
I know.
There's so many good defenders I feel like you can pick. Like, I got Myler, I got Denayer, Pau Torres is on my bench. There's all these people I'm just like, actually, they're really nice players.
It's very rare, isn't it, to have like such a wealth of options in defence, and for that to be the kind of the big decisions to be made. Like, it's not the case on like normal fantasy games. I mean, the other team I like with a good fixture game with match day, match day 1 and 3 is Denmark. Yeah, because they've got Finland and then they've got Russia. Yeah. So again, I think a lot of people who are going quite hard on Denmark and backing them with the likes of Eriksen double defence, they're going to be limitless Bing, and then going straight back into another good fixture with their Danish boys. So I don't think I've got any Denmark players in my current draft, but I am thinking that I need to think of that. So I can't pronounce his name. Kjær. Yeah. Well, you just said 2 completely different names, so you obviously don't.
Simon Kjær, isn't it?
Simon Kjær. Talk to me about him, because I'm going to be honest, don't know much about him.
Yeah, so he's had a pretty good year this year playing in Italy. I feel like he isn't amazing at set pieces. Like, he's not one of these players like Virgil van Dijk where he's going to be getting you lots of returns. But I just love the fact he's completely nailed. I feel like I have to be picking players that I know will play, because you need to be making sure that this bench can be used well.
Yep.
And if you've got 1 or 2 players that are rotation risks and all of a sudden aren't starting in that starting lineup, you're actually losing quite a lot of ground on other people. It's not like auto subs in FPL where, it's lovely, a player will come in. You need to be picking which players are going to be coming in for you and potentially getting yourselves more points. So I really have gone for the nailed options in a lot of, as much as I can. And if you have a look at my team, apart from Berardi, because we're going to find out whether he's going to be playing or not anyway, it should be every other player in my team is pretty much nailed. So yeah, I like him as an option. I like the fact he's definitely going to be playing in defence there. There was a bit of talk at one point about whether Mailer was nailed, but I think he probably is now. So it's going to be a toss-up between which one I go for out of those two. But I like him. I like the Danes anyway. And I know we were talking before about potentially going back to your team in match day 3, but I could potentially wildcard in match day 3 anyway. So I'm not really looking at it too much in terms of...
Is that something you're thinking of, like seriously thinking of it?
Yeah. Do you know why as well?
Please tell me.
It's because of the potential rotation in match day 3. And I love the idea of being able to have all the information from match day 1 and 2, know who's playing well, know who's potentially qualified already, and then you could attack those fixtures, kind of having a guess as to who's going to play and maybe picking a few differentials for match day 3. So I really like that. I love limitless in match day 2, because you know who's going to be playing. Every team's going to still be trying to win the games anyway. Everybody tries to win the games, but you know what I mean. And then match day 3 is the one where it could be an absolute stinker for a lot of people. So I think people that don't have wildcard or don't use a chip could find themselves in a bit of trouble. You never know.
It's interesting with match day 3, because I got it right, because you've probably got 2 sides of things. Well, you've probably got 3 sides of things. You've probably got a load of teams that are done and pretty much dusted. Although I was thinking about that, and it's quite unlikely that any team is going to be truly out of it going into game week. Not game week, match day.
You were doing so well.
And I swore as well. God, I'm definitely getting sacked. Yeah, so because there's this third place thing going on, it's unlikely that any team's going to be truly out of it going into that final like week, right? So, I mean, Hungary, for example, could lose to both their first games to Portugal and France. They're the first 2. Yep.
Yeah.
It really is hot. And still go into that game and potentially have a chance if say Germany didn't lost both their games as well. So that's the one that I'm looking at. They're thinking, okay, they could be dead and buried, but they might not be.
Those aren't the ones that I'm worried about. The ones I'm worried about are the teams that win both the first games and then rotate heavily for the last game.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because that's the other side of things. But does that not mean that you've say some of the bigger teams have got got through, like, essentially, and they rest a load of players, or England try and throw the group because we don't want to play France in the second in the next round.
Yeah.
Does that mean that your chip is being weighted a little bit more because you're not getting in the players who have the potential for the bigger scores, or are you seeing it as it lets you get players in who other people haven't got?
Yeah, that's exactly how I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it as I'm really hoping Germany only have maybe a point going into that last game against Hungary, and I can get triple Germany in. And I don't think anybody else out there, unless they have started with Germans, which I would very much doubt, I think I can get triple Germany in and be ahead of the curve there. And I feel like it's only for a week again anyway, because then you get the wild card after the group stages. So I'm thinking that for me, I feel like that's the ultimate way to play it. It does mean that I have to really pick my squad well after when I wild card out of the group stages.
Yeah.
Because I have to be picking players based on who I think is going to go further.
Yeah.
But then after the group stages, when you see the tree and see where everybody's going, you can pretty much pick who you think is going to do well for a bit. And I'll just have to try and stack my team up based on those kind of teams. So it's the way I'm going. I'm 100% sold that's the way I'm going. I just feel like I can do well after match day 2, after playing Limitless, to go straight into a wild card, pick my players based on who I don't think a lot of people will have. For me, what I really want is Spain, Holland, England, all to have won every game. Belgium, all to have won every game, and then rest everybody in match day 3. Because I think it was Motley Barnett's that put out a thing saying that the amount of rotation that happens in match day 3 by teams that have won both games is ridiculous.
Yeah,
8-9 changes.
Yeah.
And I want to try and get ahead of that chaos and make sure that my team looks really good based on all the players that I think will definitely play because they've got something to play for, and then get ahead that way. Don't get me wrong, it could completely backfire, but I'm 100% sold that that's the way I'm going to play the game.
It's really interesting because there's the two kind of schools of thought are a bit like the Golden Boot. I think often, games are the Golden Boot is often won and lost in the group stages, right? If Lukaku or Kane are gonna get the Golden Boot, they're going to need to get probably 3 or 4 goals, I'd say, in the group stages to win it. So again, that bodes well for using chips all in the group stages because that's potentially where the most points are. I just can't help but feel like the wild card is so powerful after that round of 16, just because there could be some shocks, there could be some big things, and if you're looking at your team for like the next 4 weeks and you're constantly having to scramble, use points, you're not getting the best players because your team isn't well set up, because it's about structure as well. Right, if you've used the wildcard, you need to be thinking about your structure for the rest of the tournament to make sure that you can move kind of fairly easily for different players. Because you don't get that many transfers. If you end up with half your squad or more out of the thing, I think you could be in real trouble. And I get it. I get wanting to attack that third match day.
Yeah.
But also, I can't help but feel that wild card is kind of tailor made for that week. I
But-
don't know. I hadn't even considered using it in 3, but you and Luke are both making a fairly compelling case.
But also remember as well, after the round of 16, you've only got 8 teams left. What are you going to be wildcarding into? The same team as everybody else. So, everybody's going to be picking the exact same players, aren't they? I mean, what I mean is there's a much smaller pool of players, isn't there?
Yeah.
And I feel like the upside in match day 3 is it's close, but I feel like it outweighs the knowing a bit more information, when there's only 8 teams left. Because if I call it right, I could be absolutely fine. Don't get me wrong, I could completely mess it up and only end up with 2 or 3 players in my team. But I just feel like that potential upside against everybody else in match day 3 is what's swinging it for me.
Yeah. No, you could well be right. I mean, it might be sensible, especially if you've got a team like Germany who need to win that game against Hungary, pretty convincingly to go.
That's
through.
the one I'm targeting.
Yeah, so that's something like that's really interesting, and there are some good games in that. I mean, Croatia as well. I'm expecting England to win that group fairly comfortably, but then Croatia plays Scotland in the third match day. It's weird calling it a day because it's not a day; it's a week. That's what throws me. Yeah. I was so for the limitless and wildcard later on, but I am starting to think maybe there is some kind of sense to it. So I know I'm being swayed by the voices on Scout on Twitter. That's what we're supposed to avoid, right?
Never good.
So just finally, let's just touch on your 3 strikers. You've got Lukaku there. I assume he's been in every draft you've made.
Yeah.
I don't really know how he isn't 100% owned, if I'm being completely honest. I think he's just an absolute lock. You got Memphis there, Memphis Depay. Don't think we need to speak too much about him. I think we do need to speak a little bit about Ronaldo, though. I think if you're planning on the limitless in 2 and the wildcard in 3, I don't really see how you can go without Ronaldo. But if you're not planning on doing that, and then Ronaldo's suddenly coming in for that France game in match day 3, I mean, fair enough, he's a kind of an easy swap because you can get pretty much anyone. But so I haven't got him at the moment. I've gone for Jota instead.
Yeah.
Because there are good striking options, and I feel like Jota, I don't know if he could match what Ronaldo could do against Hungary, but he's not exactly a bad option. He's got a good record for Portugal recently as well. And it just lets me get in another striker, because I just feel like the strikers are so close between like Lukaku, Depay, Ronaldo, Kane, Lewandowski. Those 5 are just, there isn't too much to separate them. So I'm kind of hoping that Jota can at least cover Ronaldo a little bit, but then he's got to cover like the greatest goal scorer ever in football. Yeah. So is that possible? What do you think of that?
No. Basically. No, I just don't think it is. I just think Ronaldo's just so selfish, isn't he, with the way he plays, and he's got the penalties. He's got in against Hungary. It's really tough actually, because I feel like against Hungary that is the fixture, and then the other 2 games they're going to be really close games. I feel, and against France and against Germany, I don't see them scoring tons, if I'm perfectly honest. And then if they're not going to be scoring tons, who are you backing to get the goals? Is it going to be Jota, or is it going to be Ronaldo? I feel like it's Ronaldo for me. People keep telling me that Jota will 100% start, but I just don't see him 100% starting. I feel like he's a good option, and I feel like he could start, but I feel like Paul Felix is there ready to start as well. So, pardon?
Don't say that.
Oh, sorry. This is what I mean. There's so many question marks on all of the teams, and I would just much rather have Ronaldo personally.
I think this is why I'm finding this Euro game really interesting, though, is that things that would never normally be a factor in your thinking of FPL suddenly are in this. And to me, one of the things is the date in which Portugal play, because it's the last game of the week. And I think we were talking about it last time you were on. It's that you would need every other player. You would need like Lukaku, Depay, like Spinazzola. You need all these guys to get less than, let's say, 9 points for you to probably change the captain over to Ronaldo. Yeah. And I just think there's such good options out there that I'm not sure that I would. Like I just can't see Lukaku blanking against Russia. I can't see Depay blanking against Ukraine. I can't see the likes of Lewandowski blanking against Slovakia, or Kane. I don't think Kane's going to go mad against Croatia, but I wouldn't bet against him getting a goal. So suddenly you're paying 12 million for a player who you're probably not going to change the captain to. He's taken up a really important forward spot. That's my thinking anyway. I'm not doubting his kind of credentials at all. I'm just thinking maybe it's not the play. But if Jota gets benched and I don't have anyone in that Hungary game, then that's going to hurt.
Yeah, do you know what? And I'm gonna play a bit of devil's advocate here because I've been thinking this exact same thing. If I was to downgrade anybody to upgrade my midfielders, so basically Soucek and Berardi could become Insigne and Torres, and I could downgrade Ronaldo if I wanted to, because I'm also worried about the same thing. When I get to Ronaldo's fixture, I could have Lukaku and Depay both having braces. Am I really going to move it to captaincy over to him?
Yeah.
No. But at the same time, there is a chance that Lukaku and Depay and Spinazzola all get, Spinazzola could only get a clean sheet and Lukaku and Depay could only get one goal, or they could not score at all. And all of a sudden then I've got Ronaldo to bring off the bench against Hungary. And you look at that and think, there are going to be people in my mini league, there are going to be people on Twitter going, oh God, Cristiano Ronaldo is coming off his bench and I don't even own him.
Yeah.
That's the difference for me. I think having Lukaku and Depay, even if they score just one goal, being able to bring Ronaldo off as your captain for that final game, I think is a great move to be able to make. So I think every time I think about downgrading and upgrading two of my other midfielders, I just keep remembering the fact that it's Ronaldo. And
if only we knew what all the other players would do before Ronaldo came off your bench, that would be really good knowledge, wouldn't it? But
it would be good, yeah. I don't think he's going to be as highly owned as we think he is. I think Lukaku is, what's Lukaku, 44%? Depay must be quite high as well. So Ronaldo is almost the differential out of a lot of those strikers. Yeah. So I think, for me, I love it. I think everything's pointing to me, having that option of that last day, if everything's going to crap and he can come on and be my captain, I really like.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I think, you could even be tempted, even if everything hasn't gone to crap and you've got 9 points from Spinazzola, and still think, it's Ronaldo against Hungary. Let's just go for it and risk it. So yeah, I know. I do agree. I think it's really interesting with Ronaldo. I do wonder if Ronaldo was the first game of the week, I think he'd be 50% owned.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And that is an element in which is so strange, but it's such an important part. I mean, Cancelo as well. So Cancelo's a really attractive looking option. He's the only kind of premium defender that I think I would consider getting in. And it is nice to think that you can bring in a defender for that last game in an easy fixture like Hungary, and he can just replace one of the other defenders who've conceded to Pukki in the second minute or whatever. So yeah, I'm seeing less teams with Cancelo now, but I do actually really like him as a pick too.
I downgraded him to Torres actually. Yeah, which didn't feel amazing. But then if I've got 3 premium strikers up front, I think a lot of people, if you manage to get 3 Portugal on your bench or 2 Portugal on your bench, the ability to bring them on in that last game, I think people are going to love.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right, Andy, thank you so much for joining me again. I'm sure we'll do a few more of these before the tournament's over. I've been very impressed since your signing as a pro pundit to Scout. You've been very, very knowledgeable on all of this.
You don't have to sound surprised, mate.
Mate, I know you. Of course I'm going to sound surprised. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. If you like the video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel. And Andy, I will speak to you soon.